Hello everyone, new guy here, and almost a year ago I released a Chapter 2 Season 6 video, and that thumbnail was the first ever thing I drew digitally, and almost a year later I have learned many tips and overall improved my drawing skills, and so today I'm going to be remaking 4 of my old thumbnails from when I first started drawing digitally. And while you see that, I will be giving some tips about what I've learned with digital art and just general thoughts on the thumbnails and the videos they come from. You may probably hear the fan from my laptop in the background, and that's really just because I was too lazy to get Audacity yet. Hopefully I will soon. With that being said, enjoy the video.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg.
Of course, we gotta start things off with the first thing I ever drew digitally for the Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 6 video, which was also the first video I made coming back. And yeah, you can tell it's the first thing I've made. It's a mess. It's not the greatest. The colors are all over the place, just the general anatomy and all over the place. It's the line art, it's terrible. It's really not good, but obviously I really wanted to kind of keep the original idea for the thumbnail. I had some other ideas in mind, but I ended up just kind of sticking with the same thing. Obviously my inklings changed a lot, so obviously sticking with that kind of more personalized design, especially with the hair. And I just wanted to give Jones a slightly different pose, just so it felt a little less boring. I feel like that was one of the things with the thumbnail. It's basic for the fact that it was a pretty big video, especially for the time. That video is definitely something. And real quick, you can see here, I'm adding a lot of lines around, and that's something I've only started to learn recently, is you don't want to make your images look flat. Adding wrinkles to your clothes and such on things you make is really important to have, and it just adds a little bit more life to things you make, which I definitely did not realize at the time, you know, over a year ago. But the video itself is a bit of a mess. I mean, I could have talked a bit louder, but I mean, the editing is alright. I spent way more time on it than I should have. It was my first time making a script, and I won't lie, Chapter 2 Season 6 is really just not that great. It's not amazing, but I just was like, hey, I'm gonna be able to make slightly better videos soon. And I really enjoyed this season, because even though people don't really like it that much, like I really mentioned in the video, I played pretty well that season, so I found a lot more enjoyment in it. So I was just like, hey, I want to talk about this, because I like just talking about things I'm passionate about. So I talked about it and ended up with that video. First time making a script. It's not great, and you can see here real quick, doing a lot of shading around, especially the hands and such. And this is something important that I've learned over time, is you want to understand shading and lighting and how it works. I still don't. I'm not some pro artist yet still, but you can very much see that it helps add a lot more depth to what you're making, just like the wrinkles, and it just adds more life, makes it feel a bit more 3D. You don't want your image looking flat, is one of the biggest tips I've learned. But, you know, back to this video, I'm not happy with it anymore, but at the time, I was pretty proud of it. I mean, I made a video around the same length going over 2 entire chapters, and it was leagues better and way better paced, and yet I somehow managed to make the video as bad as it is. It's not great. The script's a bit of a mess. You know, it's not a great video. I don't know if it's worth rewatching, but you can definitely see the start times. And something I've gotten good with a lot is colors, and you can see me mess around here with the skin color. Color is very important because it can add vibrance, it can add, you know, a certain mood to what you're drawing, and so getting the right colors to use for things is really important. I did reuse some colors, some ideas from the original thumbnails of all of these, and that was more so to kind of keep the original thumbnail intact in a way. You know, I don't want to just be practically just make it look nicer, but also making it not really feel like it's the same thing. I want to just have some idea of the original reflected onto it still. And you can see here, obviously, like, I'm doing a good amount of lighting on Jones, and sometimes you'll be doing more lighting than shading. You have to understand the clothing and such that you're trying to shade, because then just the texture in general is going to differ. And I'm going to be honest, some of these tips I don't even use myself. And you can see the background here, we're finishing up pretty much. I actually, you know, made them full. If you look closer, you can see lines, because I just quickly filled it, and boom.
Hi, I'm Saul Goodman. Did you know that you have rights? The Constitution says you do.
Golf with friends. This was a thumbnail. I had an idea for this thumbnail, and it was really meant to show the chaos that was the experience of golf with friends. And I did not get that across in the original. The original also just looks meh. It's not great. And so, obviously, this one was generally just really getting my original idea across of this thumbnail. And that's very noble with Frankie here. The pose was meant to be truly chaotic and truly show how evil he is in this video. And I wanted to make him look quite aggressive, ready to swing. And I didn't get it across in the original. And besides that, I mean, oh my gosh, the anatomy is horrific in the original thumbnail, and I tried to make it better. I've only just recently been starting to study anatomy now, after improving things such as face expressions and all, and it's not easy to learn. I very much recommend trying to watch YouTube videos of people who know what they're doing more, and the channel, there's one channel that I've been using to study anatomy. The name was I think it was Blue Biscuits, I believe, was the name of the channel, and they have a couple videos on anatomy and studying anatomy and all, and it really helped me kind of get a footing and understand stuff a bit more. And you can definitely see that in this thumbnail with getting to truly do the poses I wanted to. I mean, even with just subtle things, with practicing face expressions, the subtle things with the little squint on the eye here, you can see, meant to show I know what's about to happen with Frankie and that golf club, and so is Alex clearly with the face I gave him. This whole thumbnail was getting to actually make the original idea I had, instead of the utter mess that is the original. And that is partially because when I first started doing things, I was drawing in like one... I didn't use more than one layer, to be honest. There's that in the background layer, done. Called it a day. And now at this point, I use about 3 layers before I even get to really doing my line art. Because there's you have to do a lot of steps. Anatomy, a simple sketch, maybe a nicer sketch, and then you can go into the line art and start coloring, shading, yada yada. And you can see there's a lot of images around. Use reference images. It's good to just have for color, because the color selection tool is your best friend. But I mean, we're kind of almost done here, so I do just want to say the video itself is meh. Honestly, don't watch anything that came out before this year, except for maybe the best stuff, because this video is way longer than it needs to be. It has no need being over an hour long, but at the time I wasn't, you know, as skilled. I'm not exactly some pro right now, but, you know, I was a bit more of a moron at the time, and so I just quickly be like, slightly funny, yeah, put it in, great, this works, yeah, alright. And it ended up being like an hour long of, you feel like maybe watching 30 minutes of this. I could have cut that video down so much, and especially for the fact that there was just no editing. And I love long form content, and so it's just like, big recording, I can get a long video out of this one. Oh yeah. And it just kind of became a mess. It's not a horrible video, there's some really good parts, but I should have cut it down to just those really good parts. You know? And you can see here, Frankie's eye and all, there's better kind of fading and colors and all, and that's because at the time I used like one brush and it was the worst possible brush I could have had, be the only one I used. Now I actually go between different brushes and experiment, and that's one of the big things. Experiment with your brushes. And if you're wondering, I use Krita as my software, and I mean, it works pretty well. It works. It works. It functions, and overall, you know, it just helps me be able to make what I want to make, and the real improvement is coming from myself. You can't just immediately go sit down, boom, Picasso. No, I've been going for almost a year now, and throughout that time, I probably could have practiced even more than I did. These thumbnails probably could have looked better at this point in time if I actually put even more passion into these. Well, not passion exactly, but if I just put more time throughout the year. I was very procrastinative about pretty much everything around last year, and I've been trying to improve myself at that, and you can see that through these thumbnails very quickly, going from earlier in the year things were pretty good to these look like they're pretty much drawn by two different people. You could see that in the first thumbnail already, and we're almost getting done here, but the background alone, you're gonna love the background. Look at that, trying to get a more evil effect on Frankie, and with that, that's this one done.
My name is Gustavo, but you can call me Sus.
Rocket League. This is an interesting one because this thumbnail really is not good at all, but I had two ideas for it. The one you see that makes you want to puke, and one where it was going to be a side view from the car where I kind of almost looked passed out with the car clearly crashed. And so I took both of those ideas and mixed them into one with kind of this dizzy face mixed with a way more zoomed in look, and I tried to add this effect on the sides. It looks leagues better than the original. It probably looks like it's drawn by two different people, and one of those reasons is trying to do this big car. The lines are going to be really wobbly. You got to do long ones. Make your brush stabilized is one of the main things. I've only just started doing this too. I should have just been doing it from when I realized I could. Stabilize your brush. It will do nothing but help you. It will make things look smoother, and just it's not gonna hurt you. It's not gonna hurt you, honestly. It only helps. But the video is an interesting one because it's quite mediocre, but this and the Roblox video was back to back. Record a video, I edited it the next day, released it that night, edited the next one, recorded that next one, edited the next day, boom. So I was definitely not on my A game, because now with this video a month goal, I'm putting true passion into each of my videos, and I was kind of rushing myself with these. So the video's not great. I don't even think my commentary on it's that great. Meh. If you really want to, watch the video. The best thing about it is the music choices, to be honest. But the thumbnail is just, it looks so much nicer now. I mean, one of the main things I wanted to do recently was practice face expressions, and it will really help give life to your drawings. It is such a good thing to do, to practice expressions, understanding mouths. One of the main things is always kind of put this shadowy line on the sides of your mouth, thinner or thicker depending on the angle you're looking at it, because it, you know, again, adds some sort of depth to the mouth. The nose is really kind of however you feel like doing it. Eyes, make them expressive. Make the pupils bigger or smaller depending on the emotion. Just make it feel like there's life to it. And also, at this point, OBS decided to stop being my friend, as it often does, and now you're just going to be getting still images. So that's great. You're not really going to get to see the end of this till it finishes. So yeah, this video, meh. The new thumbnail, amazing. I'm just going to let the rest of the slideshow presentation roll out.
Insanity SMP. It's hardcore Minecraft.
The Roblox video. This is another one kind of like Golf with Friends, where I just wanted to be able to finally bring the initial idea I had to life of this big shadowy figure pops up out of absolutely nowhere, ready to strike. And you can see here, I got that idea off way better. He's popping out. You can't exactly tell where the body starts and ends in a way. It kind of feels like he's just merging out of thin air instead of just this dumb big blob popping out from behind him. This thumbnail was just getting to bring my original idea to life. It is one of the more basic ones. It feels like it's the least changed, but I mean, overall, it's just gonna look nicer because, you know, again, understanding colors, getting to know what's a good way to do the outline. I wanted to do a bit of a gray, not too light of a gray, but not up to the point where it's just pure black, because that's what I'm gonna color it with. You know, I ended up getting a good gray that worked. You gotta, you know, instead of what I did in the original where it was just pure blue shirt. What's the easiest red I can go? Go to red. Boom. Alright, cool. Actually pick colors that you think look nice. You can see a little guy in the background. He still has some slight life to him instead of just this dumb little stick figure with a sodding tic-tac head. But even then, you'll see later on, his color is much different. It looks much darker because he's in the background. Add depth. Act like your image is in 3D is the biggest tip I have learned over the almost year of trying to do digital art. Make your image 3D. Alright? It will make you understand things better. It will help with understanding shading. It will just help make it feel like your drawing is more than just some drawing. And, you know, obviously, as I mentioned before, practice. Just practice. I am not good. I'm not a pro artist. Take all these tips with a bit of a grain of salt. I mean, these are tips I got from people that actually know what they're doing, but in a way, it's also what I learned through my own experience. Take it with a grain of salt, but the video itself is an interesting one because obviously at the same time as the Rocket League one, it was back to back. It's rushed. I think in a way this video is a bit more entertaining, but it's alright. Edits I like, some edits I don't like. The video could have just been done better. That's why I said, honestly, don't watch anything that came out before this year, because they're not great. But, I mean, you can see here, the blue is way different. It's not even all the way at the end of the triangle point. It's actually in a bit of an area that just gives you a nicer color instead of just this pure blue that feels like it was rushed. Because I'm gonna be honest, I remember the original was quite rushed. Very rushed. And so, overall, things just always kept turning out mediocre. And people would be like, oh, this looks good. But to myself, I knew, no. Not really. And don't let critiquing, don't let your own personal feelings affect trying to get better, because it almost did for me. It made me scared to make thumbnails because I thought these suck. And now, after almost a year that I could have been way better at this point with, I'm making these thumbnails. I'm looking, and I just think, wow. In just a year, I never felt at any point that I was getting better, but I look at this and I think, 2 different people made these. And it just shows that you just naturally will improve as long as you just keep trying, keep practicing. You know, the original thumbnail, I would have not done 90% of what I was doing, and that can be said for most of them. Now, do they have the same general feeling when you look at them? Yes. This was more so to, you know, get to show improvement. making these thumbnails not look like I just came out the womb and drew them. I mean, I'm almost 17. I'm kinda not really allowed to get away with that. So, we're near and done here. Just my biggest tip is understand your mistakes, grow off of them, and just keep trying. With that, I'm gonna let the rest of this play out. Enjoy. I'll see you in the outro. And with that, we have 4 thumbnails successfully remade. I am really happy with how these new forms turned out. The commentary is a bit of a mess, I can't lie. I did everything in about one go in every sense of the way, even with just redrawing these thumbnails. And that's really just because I've been quite busy this month, just video-wise, school-wise, all that. So hopefully over the summer, things are going to improve. But for now, if you enjoyed the video, like the video, let me know in the comments, because this could be something I may do in another year. Who knows? Don't forget to subscribe. See you on the next one.